I'm sorry,
Official
I'm
Verizon
sorry.
time, it is 7 PM.
just saying.
And I will call the Londonderry Planning Board meeting to order for October 12th, 2022. And that's the real Columbus Day, the 12th. I don't know how many people remember that. But tonight we have our administrative board work. First part of the meeting, we have old business, a public hearing. A request for continuance has been submitted. Our CIP workshop and our site and subdivision regulations workshop. I just want to point out for everyone who is here that this room has two exits. They're on the right-hand side of the audience, they're at the front of the room and the back of the room. If we have to evacuate for any reason, we ask you to proceed through the exit closest to you, go outside, move over from the building, and don't come back into our fire officials have instructed us to do so. I'd like to ask everyone to please rise for pledge allegiance to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we don't have Al here tonight, so I will appoint Jason, trustee alternate besides Roger, who's here, but Jason will be voting for Al. And that gives us 8 voting members, it's a quorum, and we can proceed. So what we'll do first is administrative board work. Approval of minutes, we have none to approve. We'll go to regional impact determinations, and they are 2, I think, dealing with Vista Ridge. Kelly?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So we have 2 regional impact determinations this evening, both for Vista Ridge. The first is an application for design review of a subdivision and lot consolidation plan for 71 Perkins Road, map 15, lot 51, zoned mixed-use commercial. 171 Rockingham Road, map 15, lot 59, zoned mixed-use commercial. 179 Rockingham Road, map 15, lot 60. 175 Rockingham Road, map 15, lot 60-2. And 191 Rockingham Road, map 15, lot 64. Jean Gagnon is the owner and applicant, and staff is recommending that this project is not a development of regional impact. The second is for design review application for a site plan for 130 townhouses and associated site improvements at 71 Perkins Road, map 15, lot 51, 171 Rockingham Road, map 15, lot 59, 179 Rockingham Road, map 15, lot 60, 175 Rockingham Road, map 15, lot 60-2, and 191 Rockingham Road, map 15, lot 64, all zoned mixed-use commercial. Owner and applicant is Jean Gagnon, and staff is recommending this is not of regional impact.
Okay, I will take a motion if no one has a question in regards to the regional impact of these 2 items.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Jake, second by Lynn. The board have any questions? I think we had a conceptual discussion on Vista Ridge last year, so,
It's a few months ago. Might have been a year ago.
It was a while.
It was a while
It's been a
ago.
while.
yeah. Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Abstentions, and,
Abstain.
okay, Gianni abstains, and chair votes affirmative, and motion carries. Those 2 items that Kelly had told us are of not a regional impact. This deals with Vista Ridge. Okay, discussions with staff. Kelly, anything on your mind? I know there's a lot, so.
I just wanted to mention that, as I discussed with you earlier, Art, we will be trying to schedule a training for this board with NHMA hopefully soon. So I'll be sending information out about that, trying to get something scheduled. And that's it.
Yep, oh, okay. Anything from the board? I know Ann and Bob Slater had talked about a tour of the schools. So I would say if any board member is interested, let Kelly know, and also your time availability. So I didn't know if you had any particular time in mind at all, Bob?
I just spoke with Ann a little bit, left her a voicemail earlier today. If
Yes.
you guys get list of people and some times, either late, early evening, or maybe even on a Saturday, and priority of, you know, the top 4 schools to start with, because you can't hit them all. in
Do
one.
all of them is gonna be,
So if you come up with a priority, we can set a date up. I'd like to do a group of it before the public hearing, if possible, so.
okay, if it can be, I know if we have more than 5, that constitutes a meeting, it would have to
We have to notice
notice
it.
the meeting at least 24 hours in advance. So email Kelly on your interests and what schools you want, and also your time availability. I'd like to get everyone together, so then it's much more convenient for, especially for Bob, who's the tour master. Okay, anything else from the board? No, I don't have anything, so all set in?
All set.
Okay,
Thank
good. Okay, rolling along here, we have old business, which is a public hearing on application for a formal review of a site plan for a trucking terminal and associated site improvements. Number 15 Rockingham Road, tax map 13, lot 99. This is zone commercial 2. Alfred Jr. and Nicole Pettori are the owners, and Pettori Brothers Paving is the applicant, and this has been continued from September 14th. And they have requested a continuance again, and the continuance will be to November 9th, 2022.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to continue the public hearing to November 9th, 2022.
Okay, motion by Jake and second by Jeff. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Abstentions? And chair votes affirmative. And the only official public notice on this continuances is right now, and that the public hearing for a formal review of a site plan for a trucking terminal and associated site improvements at number 15 Rockingham Road, tax map 13, lot 99, zone commercial 2. Alfred Jr. and Nicole Pettori, the owners, and Pettori Brothers Paving, the applicant, is continued to the 9th of November, 2022, at 7 PM, right here. Okay. Other business, we have our capital improvement plan workshop. And we did have a discussion, and I think we had left the discussion. Bob was going to fill us in where the school board is, and I think that was the only information that we wanted, is basically where the school board stands. But Steve is part of the discussion. I think Amy will probably coordinate everything here, and we have Bob's expertise, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, following at the last meeting, the concern seemed to be that the school board hadn't had a chance to see or hear about the CIP process, where the projects were in it. They have now had a chance to have a meeting. Bob and Dan and Lisa were all, I believe, present there to help present that and get the school board up to speed. I'm going to ask Bob to fill you in on what happened and their thoughts on the process and where we stand.
Good evening. Yeah, at our past board meeting, we discussed, gave an overview of the process of the CIP, where it's an advisory board to the planning board on future projects of the school district or town projects. And we had reviewed the paperwork. Right now, as the scoring has taken place through the CIP, the 3 projects that we discussed with some depth to it as a school board was, of course, Moose Hill 1A and Moose Hill 1B, and the SAU project are in the very near future, and then would follow suit with the high school according to priority. The elementary school, I believe somebody here had requested maybe break those 3 out, and we can do that in the future, but those are way beyond the 6-year plan and that, so we just haven't had a chance to get to that. So I would say, those priorities as they are according to the CIP, the board is all in sync with that process with those 3 to 4 projects over the next 6 years anyways. And that there was really no questions asked. We did just a review of the documents. They understand, what it's for at this time and how the process works. So that's basically all I got for you is, it's been reviewed and I think we're moving forward and we're good with it at the school board level.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. Anything to add, Amy?
No,
Steve? No. Okay. Well, I'll just go through the board, see if there's any questions or even comments, so.
Mr. Chair, I just have one clarifying question, if
Yeah.
you don't mind.
Right, you go ahead. I'll start with Jeff. I have to remember where
Sorry.
things start here, so. It's either from one end to the other, but.
So I do, thank you for bringing it to the board. I think it's the best for the town for, especially something of this magnitude, to be transparent as possible. In the CIP documentation and submission is absolutely kind of one of that first steps. I do have questions about the elementary school project, because Bob, you did mention that, you don't have, there's no problems with dividing them, but right now they're marked, the CIP committee has marked them as a 3, which essentially means desirable within the next 4 to 6 years. So it does kind of go into that 6-year time frame. So if the school board is not, kind of ready to kind of commit to, elementary school projects, is there any kind of motion or any type of issue with potentially kind of either revisiting that to either a 4 or 5? So next year, we have the information, and we can plan it accordingly and cause less confusion for our residents.
Yeah, I would say, I'm not gonna speak for all of them now, but those are way beyond the 6-year window. So, it says priority 3 with construction 2028, that should be a TBD to begin with. So yes, naturally, that could change the priority to a 4 or 5, where it's, and like I said, in the next 6 years, we have those 3 major projects. And then everything else comes after that. I would think the high school would be before them, so it's some time out, so.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. Does this board have the authority to change that rating from a 3 to a 4?
Yes.
Point of clarification, would I be able to make a motion for that? And
Yeah, let's go through the board first and then see how everyone, and then I'll come back to you, Jeff, at the end for a motion. I mean, this has happened in the past. that
Mr. Chairman,
Things
may I-
do get changed, but nothing really significant.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chairman, may I add to that, Bob's comment on that? These projects will all be revisited next year. It will be resubmitted next year. And while the priority stands as a 3 this year, they may bring these forward again next year, and they may still hold in the same spot next year. So this gets revisited every year,
right.
and plan projects get resubmitted. We ask all departments to submit their projects for the following CIP process.
Understood. I'm harped on the fact that we do need to plan. This is a huge ask
Yeah.
for the town, and I really want the information to be as accurate as possible. And to me, it sounds like the elementary school project is, potentially important. I get that. I was the one that said we should break those up to the 3. The 3, I want to see that for next year. It doesn't seem like we are at a point where we could say that the priority ranking of 3 in the next 4 to 6 years is the most accurate rating for this CIP plan. And I really think that the board should, potentially consider moving that to a 4 or 5.
They do have the ability to do that.
Thanks, Amy.
Okay, all set, Jeff?
Yes.
Go to Deb.
Oh,
I'll do that end, then I'll do this end.
all right, thank you. He actually stole my question. I agree with Jeff that, you said the elementary schools were, going to be longer than 6 years. And if there's new people on the boards and they look at this, they're gonna think that people before thought that it was important enough to be a 3. And so therefore, they're gonna come in with some preconception saying, oh, they thought that was important too. So I really agree with Jeff that that should be a 4 or a 5, right from the get-go, so that people in the future looking at the CIP will understand where the committee was coming from at this point in time, because you really need to see that moving forward. And I don't see it being a really big deal to change a number. That was really my biggest, and I do think breaking it out would be better too, because then you could look at it and say, this one may be a 3, whichever elementary school, but these other 2 may be 5s. And we don't know that because they're not broken out that way. And so that kind of, so to be the best, like Bob said, 6 years, we should go moving forward that way. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Ann?
I had some questions about the high school plan and some of the parts of it not being approved by the taxpayers, the voters, in the past, and grouping it all in the same project. Because I know there's parts of the high school that need improvement right away, well, or I'll say priority 3. But some may not be, and or not be received well by the public. So I was wondering if you could separate out the what's from the needs, kind of, for the high school, and prioritize the most important sections of it that are needs right away because of the structure of the building or something like that. So that might be more amenable to the public when it goes through, too.
My understanding is this project is mostly the needs and not the wants that they have in this project, and Lisa can speak to that if we need to clarify, if I'm incorrect in that statement. But my understanding is this high school project here is the needs, not the wants that are going on. This is to, and it is based on the facility, the 10-year facilities master plan that they've been working on for the last couple of years. And that can be determined, that will be discussed further by the school board and the school district, and they will determine what parts of this project need to move forward and how the money is going to be divided up on that. So this just says this is the amount they see for a project that gets the high school up to the capacity that it needs to be and fix the needs.
Does that include the auditorium?
That's in that number, that's
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
And improvements with the gym or whatever? All that?
Yes, I believe, yes, the gym is in there as well, yes.
Well, I think we have a little different view on that, but I'm just going to let Jake go next.
Actually, I was going to do Lynn and then down to the end.
Oh,
So
you're not going to start there and, okay.
I don't want to get myself too confused, you know? Lynn?
So just a couple of comments. I agree with Jeff. If we know the priorities are different in the plan, then let's update them. That's a simple thing to do. Let's be consistent. And just to Ann's point of view as well, I hadn't really thought about it from that aspect, but there are some components of the high school that have been contentious in the past, and they're lumped in all together too. And I kind of get lumping in all the projects together, but I also understand that they should, at least the gym and the auditorium should be looked at individually, and I think put forward to the taxpayers individually. So I'm not sure how we reconcile that with the CIP plan.
I agree.
You know,
Well,
I'll
I'm
leave that up to
thinking,
the CIP committee, but I think that
That's looking
needs
at
to be
it just,
broken out.
just this year, and I think this year we're still treading water on that, and I think things, as we gain more knowledge about what, and the school does also, with this master plan, that it'll become clearer, and then we can parse things out as we want.
And I understand it's a priority 3, so it's not going to happen this year either. So,
Right.
so I do understand that as well. But I think at some point in time before the projects do get voted upon as an entity, that they do need to be split out, or they should be split out.
Yep.
Okay,
Thanks.
you're welcome. Johnny?
I think there's some good comments, but I think I'm gonna pass right now. I don't have much more to add.
Oh, okay. Jason?
Going off of the splitting it out, I think it makes sense to come to the town with one budget number. Because otherwise you're starting to get do you want 27,000 people line item vetoing each item of a $98 million high school budget? And if I'm not mistaken, an auditorium is part of isn't there like a certification or some kind of a standard? So I think it does make sense to include that in the larger number and keep it in there and, have us come to the town with your best idea.
Right.
And that's what gets voted on. So that's my thought.
Okay, Roger?
The only thing I seem to know anything about is the Moose Hill. So I guess it seems to me that we're going to be doing a full-time kindergarten quicker than 5 years. Am I misinterpreting that, or is that what that looks like?
Yes, phase one is definitely ahead of phase two, but we are still in the process of gathering information on full day. There's a lot of public forums starting to take place. Matter of fact, there's one posted for our next C3 meeting, which just came out this afternoon, which is going to be held at night up at the high school. So any planning board members that would like to get refreshed on what they're proposing for full-day kindergarten, that'll be a good time. So that's going to be an all-year process, but phase one is the 6 classrooms at the end of the corridor. And due to the 2 portables we have to the left of the building, we are at max right now, classroom-wise. And if we have any type of increase in enrollment, we'd be looking at, possibly additional portables, which we're trying to avoid. And that's why we looked at this a year ago, and it's taken us, due to circumstances, 2.5 years to put this plan together. It isn't like we just threw it together and did it, with all that. So we know that's gonna happen, and then if phase two does happen with full day, those portables are gone and the children are in classrooms, because those would have to go to do phase two. So it takes care of our enrollment problem, number one, and then it gives us the opportunity to go to phase two if the community, approves it down the road once everything is out and, everybody's been able to listen to all the information and make a, educated decision.
I guess one of the concerns that I had is the school originally was built so that we could add an upstairs on it, but you can't use that for kindergarten kids.
No.
So
That's correct.
is that in the thing where we could put the kindergarten somewhere else and then use that school for expansion, or no?
We have not looked at that. We looked into neighborhood kindergartens, possibly adding kindergarten rooms to the elementaries.
Yep.
But then you've got to do an addition to every elementary building to classrooms have to be a certain size for kindergarten. They have to have their own bathrooms.
Yes.
So with all the work we've done over the last 2.5, 3 years, that was kind of eliminated to stay where we are, to make the adjustments where we are, forego the second floor because, like you said, kindergarten cannot go up and down stairs, and that it's not allowed at the state level. And it was the most practical with the building there at this point to add on to that facility and keep the kindergarten and the LEAP program, separated into its own entity.
I hear about those things all the time. My
Yep.
wife works there.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but, and I think from what she tells me and what I see, because occasionally I go there, the kids are getting an excellent job done. Some of these people who need additional help
Yeah.
are gonna be much better off because they start at 3
Yep,
years old.
3 and 4 years
As
old.
you know, but
Yep.
I'm just saying that it is definitely, you see increasingly better quality kids, not quality kids, better educated kids coming up through there. So that's why I'm interested.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Roger. Jake?
I'd have to agree with Jeff on the elementary side of things. I think it's appropriate to do either a priority 4 or 5 on it. And with the high school, I can kind of see what everybody was saying. I think logistically, it makes sense to do them all at once, but there are, you know, a few different types of projects in there. I think if I remember correctly, I want to say it was the 200s was in pretty rough shape. Is it the 200s?
100s.
100s, wherever the
Yep.
main office is, that
Yep.
section there was in pretty rough shape, whereas the rest of the projects associated with it were not as immediate. You know, I kind of wonder if, from a safety aspect, if really the high school should be more of a priority too, because of that section. But again, I can kind of understand where everybody's coming from, if there's different projects in there. But I think you're right, I think logistically, it makes sense to do it while you're there instead of one project and then you finish it a year later, the high school's under construction again, just, I think logistically is a little messy. But I would be fine with changing that to either a 4 or 5 for the elementary school.
Okay, I'll go back to Jeff. You want to make the motion? We'll see how the board feels about that.
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair.
question before you make a motion?
Yes.
So, John Farrell, I was the chairman of the CIP committee for 15 years. It's the first year I'm not the chairman and not on the committee. With regards to this particular document that you're looking at, the intent of this and the way we recreated it several years ago, over 10 years ago, is that this is for transparency. This is so that the people can see what might be coming. It's also so that people can see, and the banks can see when we go out looking for money for other projects, to see what might be coming. What does things look like? How do we financially stand? We have a government that has put the school board and the town council as the legislative body, with the people voting. You move this out of the 4 to 6 year period, what you don't know is that you don't know. You're taking away the visibility. In my opinion, what you want to do is you want to keep this out front and keep talking about it. Because what might be 98 million or what might be 50 million, whatever the numbers are, you want to continue to have this conversation be first and foremost in the front. As a planning board, this is your primary document that you send to the school board and to the town council, as that this is the possible plan. If I'm sitting on the town council and I get this thing and you're telling me that you're pushing it out, I'm never going to think about it again. What you want to do is you want to have it in the budget conversations. You want to have it as part of all conversations. My recommendation to you is that you continue to, to be active in those conversations. Don't push stuff down the road. We made that mistake 20 years ago, and that's why we are where we are today. My 2 cents. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, voice of experience there. Steve?
Just a quick point about the elementary schools, breaking that out. Think about what happens if you break those out, right? How would those get voted on? Wouldn't some, depending on where individuals live, wouldn't that be a factor? They might not vote one school higher than another school, right? If you break that out?
My question would be, are all 3 elementary schools needing a priority 3 rating? I think
I'm addressing more the
Mr.
breakout,
Chair,
just that's why.
Just want, if I could actually, could I ask a question of John?
Yes.
Mr. Town Council Chair?
John?
I just have a
Question for you.
I just want to kind of clarify it. Sorry.
Not for many of you from work. I'm sorry, what was the question?
My reasoning for wanting to break it out, and I see what you're saying, and I see where the bonds are, and I see all that. But however, what we received as part of this documentation was a note. I don't know. I do not believe it was the current leadership of the school board, but it was a note that was half-baked, it didn't really kind of provide any insight to what the project is. My concern is that the way that this thing has been submitted does not provide the transparency that this document potentially could have. With the bond aspect, though, that's a great point. If I make a motion to put this as a 5, which is a premature, more research needed, next year, the school board comes back, the school district comes back and saying, yep, this is 3 or 2, with the information that's probably should be put into this plan before, what is, is there harm there? I'm asking kind of the budget committee, I'm asking also the town
So,
council.
all right, so what I would say to you is that in the past, when we had plans submitted from the school, at best, they were back of the napkin. At best. Presentations would come before the CIP that at best were a conversation. When asked for documentation, there was no documentation. So we carried them as a 4 or 5, a premature type of thing. In this particular case, they've actually invested money, went out and came up with something that you may or may not agree with, and it may or may not be the right plan, but they at least took the time to give us something they've never given to us before. They've actually given us something that actually, has documentation where we never got any before. So I'm not looking to say anything about the people of the past, but what I can say is what you got today is the best I've seen, from school planning in the 15 years that I've sat on the board. I never saw anything like this. So that's my answer, if that helps you.
It does, and I agree that the facility study was well done. I viewed that live. I viewed it multiple times on TV. I've read through the 300-page report. I've read through the PowerPoint report. What I am not seeing is the actual submission form that was used. These forms here. This was the back of the napkin aspect. This does not align.
You're not telling me it doesn't tie together.
It doesn't tie together, and I think we owe that to the community to tie that together, or at least make note of it. And that's why I'm kind of bringing it up here in a public forum, just to know that, as a planning board, we are having that discussion. Whether or not, we continue to, we move the priority. I want to hear actually a little bit more on what how that kind of affects our ability to go out to the banks and for bonds. But I really just want to ensure that, we have a good, transparent document that is traced back and aligned.
My suggestion would be is that you direct that question to staff and let them explain how they put it together. They may or may not have given different direction. I don't know, but that would be my suggestion.
Thank you. Hi, Amy, sorry.
No problem. As part of the process, we have no control as staff what gets submitted to us on those project forms. What we did include in this CIP is in the appendices is the presentation that was given on all of the school projects. So it does, in that presentation, clarify more and talk more about what is included in the elementary school projects. So that was a way to make it more clear and more transparent on what is included in that project.
Bob, do you have any comment?
I guess I'm going to go back to, I understand, and as I said, it's at a priority 3, construction of 2028, should be TBD. Okay, that kind of puts it away. So, and that's why I kind of noted on that. But as I explained to my colleagues at our meeting, this is a document to get it out to the community. This is our long range, and it's going to change year to year, as everybody's, has stated tonight. We're going to look at this. We may come into a situation with our superintendent and staff to an emergency case where we have to move one of these projects up.
Right.
So it may go from an 8-year out to a 2-year out, with planning starting next year because of a shift in either education or enrollment or just something that needs to be taken care of sooner that we didn't even see. even though these buildings have been gone through. So this is my first time through the CIP as a committee member, as well as, representing a project of this magnitude. I don't know, to the chairman of the council's point, I don't know that school districts ever done anything like this. I don't know that the town has ever seen a magnitude of a project like this, because these buildings are 50, 60, 70 years old. Our newest building is the kindergarten, and it's 21 years old. So I think this is a good start. I think we spent a lot of time on the CIP that evening. I think we spent a lot of time with the school board members prioritizing the top three to get us to a good point where they were comfortable with what's in front of you. I've tried to just lay out that the construction date of 2028 should be TBD. I'm not sure on the grading what it changes from priority 3 to 4 or 5, but I get your point, Jeff, on that. Being on the school board and being part of this for the last 4 or 5 years and know the direction, and I thank the chairman of the council for, kind of giving us a compliment of doing this plan and doing it the right way, and that's what we're trying to do with new leadership at the district, moving forward for the community and for the taxpayers. This is long range. Things are going to change year to year. I just felt as though the top three I laid out at the beginning of the evening are in the very near future in the next 6 years, and everything is beyond that. So whether it means changing any number of that, it still is out there for transparency to move forward with. So I get everyone's point, but I just don't know what needs to be changed, so.
So just for, the top three, Moose Hill 1A, Moose Hill 1B,
Yep.
and high school,
SAU,
SAU.
then high school would be 4. Because our lease is up in, 28. So,
Well, Moose Hill 1B is a 5. You said Moose Hill 1A, 1B.
TBD.
Sorry,
One-
yep.
1A is the 2.
But that could, depending on our input during the next year, could jump to the following year.
We're just talking
So-
about right now.
Yep,
Just
no,
for
appreciate that.
clarification.
Yep,
And theoretically, as you're unpacking the facilities report, and you're pulling in the elementary school projects, you are looking at them, they could come back next year as a 2 or a 3.
they very well, and I don't think any of us in this town knows
And,
that.
from today, what
Correct.
we know today, we probably
Bless you.
can't say that it would be a priority 3.
Correct.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to kind of make a motion to change the elementary school project priority from a 3 desirable to a 5 premature. It needs more research, planning, coordination.
I have a motion. Do I have a second, or?
Second.
And second it.
Do we have a little discussion first on that? Just,
Well, I'm gonna go, if I have a motion and a second, I'll go to discussion on it, so. So Deb has done the second.
Ann did the
Oh,
second.
Ann
I
has.
just had a question.
Okay.
To me, I understand where Jeff's coming from, and I heard everybody. I would think it would be a sin to not get something fixed, like the hundreds in the high school, because of another number that's attached to it that people may not want. I mean, the auditorium, let's be honest, has come up, 3 times at vote, 2, 3 times, and it's been voted down. I would hate to see this get voted down because of that arm attached to it, that we couldn't get things fixed that needed to be fixed. I'm just let me run it through my head and then you can answer me. And it's the same things with the elementary schools. So Matthew Thornton, or is it South School that they wanted to basically take, so they want to take that down. I mean, I would hate to see something that really needs to be done not get done because of the big number or other things attached. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And that's my fear, and it bothers me. So I understand what he's saying, and I think that the devil's in the details, and being really specific and broken down. And I understand what you're saying about the bonds. I get that, but if you apply for the bond saying, these are needs, this is what we need, and this needs to get done because you know, we have issues with the school. That's just kind of my process as somebody who's a resident and, you know, is gonna vote. I'm gonna sit there and go, you know, I really would like to get, you know, this part of the high school fixed, but I'm really not for this and this. And you're not giving me an option to do that. Or I'd like to see South School get taken care of, or, you know, and the other two could wait. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And if you could address that, that would be awesome.
And I get that. We're not even anywhere near that point yet on the high school, so I can't even comment on it intelligently. We've got an overall, this is what we need to get where we need to be educationally wise after all the info. Now, don't forget, these architects spent 6 to 8 months in the buildings with educators. This is what we're looking to do. Spend time with the superintendent to get all this data. It wasn't just like we want to demo this wing and we want to redo it. So the drawing for the high school now that I'll show the group in the next couple of weeks here as we walk through, that's online as it is, that could change 4 years from now due to the way our superintendent feels as though it should go. And then it will go out for direction to the architects before it's getting near and community input. But mainly it comes from our education department. This is what we're looking for. This is what we need. Then we will adjust to that point. But we are not even in a concept to talk about. The high school is okay now. We know its longevity is very slim. We have some mechanical stuff in all the buildings that are going to be corrected next year that we're looking at doing, you know, on the next budget cycle.
So you're pulling that part out.
We are, and that we could use when we do these remodels and changes. So that process is being looked at now, so we don't run out, you know, this winter with a, you know, or next winter with a boiler out and we can't get one. So we're gonna prioritize that to keep these buildings running while we do our process, while we figure out, we've got a whole new leadership team that is taking over and doing this process for you folks and for the community. And we haven't had that. And it takes some time,
I
so you're
understand.
gonna.
So please
what-
just take my words.
Yep.
To the next steps, at least.
Oh, yeah.
I think it needs to be seen there.
And we can break the high school out in any way, shape, or form. We can say the auditorium is phase B. It could be A and B of the high school.
I look at this as the
Okay.
elephant, right? The old adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So saying that this absolutely has to, I mean, it may not be the way that other people would like to see it get done, but I think it's the more palatable way for it to get done is taking it bite by bite because, you know, let's be honest, the economy is,
You're
Crazy.
you're greatly increasing the cost if you do that.
Well,
Because
this-
you've got
Well,
a
I-
construction company there, then they leave, then you get another one coming.
Yeah, I
in.
don't think we need to get bogged
Yeah, I-
down in this
well-
discussion because there's two ways or even more ways of approaching it. There's the, you know, financial way of looking at it. There's also the political way, how do I get this passed, way of looking at it. So, and that's not for us to decide. It's not going to happen this year, it's not going to happen next year, but at some point in the future, the school board will be making that decision. It's the school district. Ann?
I have a question for you, simple question. When they mention preschool in the document, does it just mean LEAP and special ed?
It's LEAP and it's a full-day kindergarten. So we have half-day kindergarten and LEAP, which is 3 to 4 year olds, kindergarten, 5-year-olds.
Right.
Yep, so if we go to full day, it'll be all of that at once, which is additional classrooms, multi-purpose room.
As far as, but you're not talking about regular ability students
Yes,
going to preschool, do you?
yes, yep.
So it means everybody, full day, preschool, kindergarten, and everything else?
Yep. That's what we have now, on a half-day cycle,
Half-day cycle, but regular
morning and
ability kids,
afternoon.
too?
Yep, yep.
Okay,
Okay, is there any,
realize that.
Sure.
Any more
Dan, you want
dis-
to chime? Could I get superintendent?
oh,
I'm Dan, I'm the interim superintendent. So basically, LEAP is always pretty much a half-day program. That's our preschool.
Right.
So even if one day kindergarten was a full day, LEAP would always be half day.
Right, I know LEAP, it integrates regular developing students with
Yeah.
special needs. How about the rest of the community at that age? They will be going to school also? For 3-year-olds and up,
Yeah,
like a preschool?
no, so I mean, phase two, what we've talked about is really for just 5-year-olds. The 3 and 4-year-old program will pretty much stay as is, no matter what happens at kindergarten.
Okay,
Okay.
I don't think we
That's
need to get bogged
Yeah.
down. in
No,
that.
no, I just wanted
This
to
is,
know if it
just
was
wanna
open
clarify
to
that
the
for-
to the community.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it's probably, maybe addressed with the school board directly, or, on the tour. I think we're just worried about the, our CIP, and we have a motion on the floor also, so.
Right,
let's-
right, but it's in the CIP, that's why I wanted to know.
Well, it doesn't deal with the motion, so,
Okay.
any other questions on Jeff's motion? I just want to say that the CIP committee put a great deal of effort into this, and for the most part, the board has always gone along with the CIP, and I think in past years, there's been a little flip-flopping with the auditorium between, is always pushing it back. So, I mean, the board does have the prerogative to change, but it should listen to all the arguments on, in dealing with this motion, so. Seeing no further discussion, I'll put it to a vote. So a yes vote would be to change it to a level, or priority 5. And a no vote would be to keep it at 3 level and agree with the CIP committee. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, raise your hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 yeses, and there'd have to be 2 noes. Okay, any further discussion on the CIP? I think we've gone through, I think we've heard what we need to hear, and we've been hearing extra, but that's part of the discussion also. The point right now is this board ready to go to a public hearing with the CIP. And we would schedule a date of November 9th, 2022 for a public hearing, and that's where the public will have its input. And I think the workshop is to get the board so that we're all coming from the same direction as, we'd all like to be coming, otherwise it doesn't accomplish much. Okay, so we will go to a public hearing on November 9th. That'll be 7 PM right here, and I just want to thank everyone involved, CIP committee, Amy, staff on both the school side and the town side. I think Bob's put in a great deal of effort, and Steve has also as chair, so it's very appreciative. Do the grunt work for us. We can sit up here and discuss and change it and not know what we're doing at times, so. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you all.
Okay, next we have a workshop session on site and subdivision regulations that Kelly has sent out, actually, right after last month's meeting. And they kind of deal with housekeeping items and several fairly straightforward things to make our regulations a little more understandable for the members of the public. So, Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So these, as you stated, these proposed amendments are primarily housekeeping items, grammar, spelling, number of copies of items that we require for application submissions. The most significant change is to the subdivision regulations, and that is the addition of the definition for a lot line adjustment. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions or comments from the board.
Okay, any questions? Actually, I'll just go through the board. I'm sure someone will have a question, but I'll start with Jake.
Mr. Chair, I'm good for the moment.
Okay. Roger.
It looks like just housekeeping, and I think that they should be done. That's it.
I have no questions, thank you.
Gianni?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's basically housekeeping. So, yeah, I'm good for the moment.
Okay. Lynn,
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Jeff?
Yeah, no, just thank you for kind of sending them out after last meeting. I have full confidence that it was just housekeeping. I just wanted just to read it and before, so I appreciate that, and I have no comments.
Deb?
I just have a curiosity question. We went from 4 copies of things to 2.
Correct.
Do you know why they would want 4 copies? Like what they were using them for? And, yeah, I mean, 2 makes sense to me, but,
My assumption is that additional copies were sent to other departments as hard copies for other departments.
but now because it's all online and stuff, people
Yep.
can just see
We're
it.
electronic now.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah, I was just curious as to why. That's all. I mean, you did a good job, thank you.
Ian?
And then 12 copies to 2 also, because you're getting the digital version of it also.
Correct, yep.
So, yeah, that saved a lot of paper.
A lot of trees getting saved.
No, I went through it, I didn't see any complaints, comments, other comments to make, yeah.
Anything else from the board? I just picked up one misspelling, but that's been corrected, so.
Yes.
Grammar was perfect.
Great.
Okay, is the board prepared to go for a public hearing on this, on the 9th of November? Okay, we will be having a public hearing on our site plan and subdivision regulation changes, and this is just a decision of the board. It's our own regs. So hearing will be November 9th, 7 PM, right here. So we know there'll be 2 items on our November 9th agenda.
Yep.
Okay, any other business? I don't have any. Let's see, we have Election Day coming up. We'll have a meeting in November 2nd. I think there could be a couple of items on there, but we won't know until, once Thursday passes, that's the final submission date for November 2nd, so we'll know then. So I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, motion to adjourn,
Second.
second by Jason. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned, folks. Thank you.